The day everything changed. Captain Sarah Chen stood before the Galactic Council, her worn boots squeaking against the crystal floor. Around her, 300 alien species watched with eyes that ranged from curious to hostile. Some had 6 eyes. Some had none. But all of them were staring at her like she was a bomb about to explode. Human, Ambassador Velkotha's voice echoed through the chamber. The insectoid diplomat's mandibles clicked with each word. You stand accused of violating the sacred law of communication. How do you plead? Sarah took a deep breath. She'd been in tight spots before, firefights on Mars, diplomatic disasters on Europa. That one time she accidentally started a food fight at a peace conference. But this was different. This was career-ending, possibly life-ending bad. Not guilty, she said simply. The chamber erupted. Clicks, whistles, roars, and sounds that human ears weren't designed to process filled the air. The universal translator in her ear struggled to keep up, feeding her a chaos of overlapping voices. Impossible. She lies even now. Remove her from the chamber. How it all started. 2 weeks earlier, Sarah had been excited. Her first solo mission as Earth's ambassador to the Galactic Federation. Simple assignment: attend trade negotiations on Station Harmony, smile, nod, don't start any wars. Easy, right? Wrong. The problem started with Ambassador Trelvan of the Zephyri Empire. The jellyfish-like alien floated in his containment tank, tentacles waving gracefully as he spoke about mineral rights. And how many tons can Earth provide annually? Trelvan had asked. Sarah checked her datapad. The number was disappointing. Earth's mining operations were still primitive compared to galactic standards. She could lie, inflate the numbers, make humanity look more impressive. That's what a good diplomat would do, right? But Sarah couldn't. Something in her refused. 3,000 tons, she said honestly. It's not much, but we're working on improving our extraction methods. The chamber went silent. Every alien present turned to stare at her. Trelvan's tentacles stopped moving entirely, floating in his tank like dead seaweed. You. Ambassador Courtnine, a bird-like creature covered in silver feathers, stood up slowly. You just told the truth. Yes? Sarah felt confused. That's what the numbers say. But you could have exaggerated, another ambassador whispered. You could have made your planet seem more valuable. Why would I do that? You'd find out eventually when we couldn't deliver. The secret the galaxy kept. That's when Sarah learned the truth about galactic civilization, a truth that humans had never been told during first contact. Every species in the galaxy had universal translators. Sophisticated devices that didn't just convert words between languages, but also adjusted meaning, softened harsh truths, and automatically optimized communication for diplomatic success. When an alien said, "We can provide 10,000 units," the translator would add uncertainty markers, hedge language, and contextual cues that essentially said this is a negotiating position, not a fact. Lying wasn't just accepted in galactic society, it was built into the technology itself. Humans, who'd only had translators for 5 years, didn't know this. Earth's translators were simpler, cruder. They just translated words. When Sarah said 3,000 tons, that's exactly what everyone heard. Pure, unfiltered, naked truth. It was considered obscene. The law nobody mentioned. The sacred law of communication, Ambassador Velkov explained during Sarah's emergency briefing, states that no species shall transmit raw, unprocessed truth in diplomatic settings. It's considered aggressive, hostile, and deeply offensive. Sarah sat in the detention cell they'd politely called a temporary residence. Her head was spinning. Let me get this straight, she said slowly. You're saying that in the entire galaxy, nobody tells the truth? Of course we tell the truth. Velkotha's mandibles clicked indignantly. We simply package it appropriately. Truth is dangerous, Ambassador Chen. It starts wars. It breaks alliances. It hurts feelings. But how do you ever know what's real? We don't need to. We have systems, protocols, established ways of parsing meaning from intention. Your species' insistence on literal communication is. He searched for the word, barbaric. The real problem. But Sarah's truth-telling had done something unexpected. When she'd honestly stated Earth's mining capacity, other ambassadors started questioning their own numbers. If the human wasn't exaggerating, were they exaggerating too much? The careful web of diplomatic lies started unraveling. Trade negotiations collapsed. 3 different species accused each other of deception, not because anyone lied more than usual, but because Sarah's honesty had created a baseline that exposed how much everyone else was inflating their claims. You've disrupted 1,000 years of carefully balanced communication, Ambassador Courtnine told her sadly. Species are recalling their diplomats. Trade agreements are being questioned. There are threats of violence. Sarah felt sick. I was just trying to be honest. That's exactly the problem. The trial. Now she stood before the full Galactic Council, facing charges that could see Earth expelled from the Federation. Humanity's dream of joining the galactic community, destroyed because one captain couldn't tell a diplomatic lie. The evidence is clear, Velkoth announced. The human ambassador transmitted unprocessed truth with full knowledge of the consequences. The law is equally clear, such behavior merits expulsion and permanent communication ban. Sarah's hands clenched at her sides. Angry words rose in her throat. She wanted to scream at them, to call them cowards for hiding behind technological lies, to tell them that any civilization built on automated deception was doomed to fail. But she didn't. Because that would just prove their point, that humans were too aggressive, too honest, too dangerous for civilized company. Instead, she said something else. I have a proposal. The chamber quieted. Velkotha's antennae twitched with curiosity. Speak. Give me 1 month. Let me show you what human-style communication can do. If I can't prove that honest communication makes the galaxy stronger, I'll accept expulsion. Earth will go quietly. And if you fail? Then humanity isn't ready for the stars anyway. Sarah met Velkotha's compound eyes without flinching. But I won't fail. Velkoth consulted with the other council members. Long minutes passed. Finally, he turned back to Sarah. 1 month, he said. But understand, Captain Chen, the entire galaxy will be watching. And they will not be gentle if you fail. Sarah nodded. She had 30 days to prove that truth was stronger than lies. She had no idea how to do it. But she knew someone who might, her co-pilot, Lieutenant Marcus Webb, the most brutally honest man she'd ever met. If anyone could help her navigate this disaster, it was the person who'd once told their commanding officer that his battle strategy had all the tactical sophistication of a toddler throwing blocks. Time to call in reinforcements. The truth shall set you free, or get you killed. The unlikely ally. Lieutenant Marcus Webb arrived on Station Harmony with his usual grace, by which Sarah meant he immediately walked into a transparent wall he didn't see, apologized to the wall, then asked where the nearest coffee substitute was because real coffee is for planets with functional gravity. Marcus. Sarah hugged him despite herself. Thank you for coming. Had a choice between this and paperwork about why I told Admiral Reeves his hairpiece looks like a deceased ferret. Marcus grinned. This seemed safer. I've started a diplomatic incident that might get humanity expelled from the galaxy. Still safer than Reeves' hairpiece. That man is sensitive. Marcus looked around the detention suite. Nice place. Is that a pool or a life support tank? Life support tank. For aquatic diplomats. Right, because that's normal now. He flopped into a chair designed for beings with 3 legs and somehow made it work. So, explain this mess in small words. I got shotted during the trip here and my brain's still rebooting. The plan nobody believed in. Sarah explained everything, the translators, the lies, the trial, the 1-month deadline. Marcus listened with his usual intensity, which meant he looked half asleep but was actually processing everything at maximum speed. "So you need to prove that telling the truth is better than automated lying," he said finally. "In 30 days. With the entire galaxy watching and hoping you fail. That's about it." "Cool. I have an idea." "Already?" Marcus sat up. "Sarah, what's the one thing every diplomat in this station does all day?" "Negotiate?" "Negotiate," Marcus repeated. "They negotiate trade deals, peace treaties, resource allocations. Everything's a negotiation." "And what's the foundation of any negotiation?" Sarah thought about it. "Trust?" "Exactly. And how do you build trust when nobody's translator is sending actual facts? When everyone's words are automatically softened, hedged, and optimized?" Marcus leaned forward. "You can't. You have this massive system designed to prevent hurt feelings, but it also prevents real connection. So we prove that honest communication builds better relationships. Not just better. Faster, stronger, more reliable." Marcus was warming to his theme now. "Think about it. How long did your trade negotiation take before you truth-bombed it?" 6 days, and we weren't even close to agreement." "Right. Because everyone was inflating numbers, hedging positions, waiting for others to show their real hand first." Marcus grinned. "What if we could cut that time to 6 hours? The impossible negotiation." Their first test case arrived 2 days later, the mineral rights dispute of Sector 7. 2 species, the rock-eating Granathi and the crystal-farming Lumini, had been arguing over asteroid mining rights for 18 months. The negotiations had stalled completely, with both sides claiming the other was being unreasonable. "We've reviewed your request," Ambassador Velkov told Sarah skeptically. "You want to mediate this dispute using human communication protocols?" "Yes. With both parties' permission." "They'll never agree." But they did. Partially because they were desperate, and partially because Sarah made them an offer they couldn't refuse. "If I can't solve this in 2 days, I'll personally fund your negotiation costs for the next year." The Granathi ambassador, a being that resembled a mobile boulder named Kresh, rolled into the negotiation room on day 1. "Human, we require access to asteroids with iron-nickel cores. The Lumini are blocking our legal claims with technicalities." Before the translators could soften anything, Sarah held up her hand. "Stop. Turn off your translator's diplomatic filter. That's inappropriate. Trust me." Kresh hesitated, then complied. The Lumini ambassador, a crystalline being named Shimmer, did the same. "Now," Sarah said. "Kresh, tell Shimmer exactly what you need and why. No hedging. No diplomatic language. Just the truth. When truth hurts, in a good way." Kresh's rocky features somehow conveyed embarrassment. Our population is starving. The iron shortage is killing us. We need those asteroids or my people will die within a year." Shimmer's crystal body flickered with surprise. "You never said it was urgent. Your translator made it sound like a simple expansion request." "Because admitting desperation is weakness." Kresh's voice cracked like splitting stone. "In galactic diplomacy, showing need gives the other party leverage." "But I didn't know." Shimmer moved closer. "Those asteroids you want, they're in the outer belt, yes? The ones we're blocking because they interfere with our crystal growth patterns?" "Yes. Those patterns aren't crucial. We have 17 other fields producing better yields. We were only holding those asteroids because we thought you wanted them for territorial expansion. If I'd known your people were dying." Shimmer's entire body dimmed with something that looked like shame. "We could have reached agreement 18 months ago." Sarah watched as 18 months of diplomatic deadlock dissolved in 18 minutes. Once both sides understood the actual stakes, not the translated, softened, diplomatically packaged stakes, but the real ones, the solution was obvious. The Granathi got their asteroids. The Lumini got guarantees that their other fields wouldn't be touched. Both sides got something neither had expected: respect. You mean it, Kresh said wonderingly as they finalized the agreement. You actually mean the words you say. Always, Sarah confirmed. That's. Kresh paused. That's terrifying. And also wonderful. The word spreads. News of the two-day miracle spread through Station Harmony like wildfire. Suddenly, species that had been negotiating for years wanted the human treatment. Sarah and Marcus found themselves mediating disputes across the station. Some negotiations were easy. Some were disasters. The key was teaching species to communicate without their safety nets, and not everyone was ready for that. You're an idiot, Marcus told Ambassador Plixtor on day 12, after the avian diplomat tried to blame his translator malfunction for a clearly intentional insult. You cannot speak to me that way. I just did. And you know what? You needed to hear it. Marcus didn't back down. You've been stalling these negotiations for a month because you're afraid to tell your government that you can't get the terms they demanded. That's not a translator problem. That's a courage problem. Plixtor's feathers ruffled, then slowly settled. How did you know? Because I've been there. Failed a mission once, spent 2 weeks trying to spin it as a partial success before my captain called me out. Marcus's voice softened. Sometimes the truth is I messed up. And sometimes that's exactly what people need to hear so they can help fix it. The final test. On day 28, with 2 days left in Sarah's deadline, Ambassador Velkov called an emergency council session. Captain Chen, he said formally. The council has been observing your experiment. Sarah's heart sank. Here it comes. The official rejection. We have completed 37 negotiations in the past month, Velkov continued. All using your unfiltered communication protocols. And 32 have reached agreement. Of those, all parties report unprecedented satisfaction with the outcomes. The average negotiation time has decreased by 78%. Velkov's mandibles clicked and what Sarah had learned was confusion. This should not be possible. Why not? Because truth is supposed to be dangerous. It's supposed to start conflicts, not resolve them. It's supposed to hurt, not heal. The ambassador seemed genuinely distressed. Our entire civilization is built on the premise that raw communication must be filtered for safety. You've proven that premise wrong in 4 weeks. Sarah stepped forward. Ambassador, may I tell you something honestly? I doubt I could stop you. Your system isn't wrong. Softening communication, building in diplomatic cushions, that works for species that think like you do. But humans? We're different. We evolved in a world where lying meant death. We're pack animals who survived by trusting each other's warnings. When a human says danger, other humans run first and ask questions later. Truth is our baseline. She looked around the council chamber. You asked if humanity is ready for the stars. We are. But the real question is, are the stars ready for humanity? The vote. The council deliberated for 6 hours. Sarah and Marcus waited in the observation deck, watching ships come and go from the station. If they expel us, Marcus said quietly, it was worth it. How do you figure? Because we showed them something they'd forgotten, that people can trust each other. Really trust, not just diplomatically trust. He smiled. That's worth the trip. The summons came at midnight, station time. Sarah walked into the council chamber alone. 300 species watched in silence. Ambassador Velkov stood. Captain Chen, we have reached a decision. Sarah braced herself. Humanity will not be expelled from the Galactic Federation. Instead. Velkov paused, and for the first time, Sarah saw him manually disable his translator's diplomatic filter. When he spoke again, his voice was raw, unprocessed. Instead, we're asking for your help. We want to learn what you know. We want our translators to have a human mode, optional truth-telling, for those brave enough to try it. You're serious? Completely. You've shown us that we've been afraid of the wrong thing. We feared truth would divide us. But comfortable lies were dividing us all along. We just couldn't see it through all the diplomatic packaging. The chamber erupted in approval, clicks, whistles, and roars that needed no translation. 6 months later. Sarah sat in her new office on Station Harmony, reviewing applications for the Honest Communication Initiative. 300 species wanted training. Thousands of diplomats wanted to learn the human way. Marcus walked in with 2 cups of something hot and purple. Shimmer says this is the best coffee substitute in the station. What does it taste like? Honestly? Like someone strained it through old socks. But she was so excited to share it that I didn't have the heart to say no. Sarah laughed. That's not very honest of you. I know. I'm evolving. Marcus sat down. Got a message from Earth today. They're sending 50 more diplomats. We're officially the Galactic Federation's communications department. Scary thought. Terrifying thought. Marcus raised his cup. To humans, too honest for our own good, and occasionally, too honest for everyone else's good too. Sarah clinked her cup against his. To truth. To truth, Marcus agreed. Even when it's uncomfortable. Outside the window, a Granathi ship docked smoothly with a Lumini vessel, former enemies now trading partners, all because someone had dared to tell the truth. The galaxy was learning. Slowly, painfully, but learning. And humanity? Humanity was finally home.